Hello and welcome. So today it's going to be a video of firsts. It's going to be my first video behind the scenes where I talk about how I create the videos on the channel here. And as you may have guessed from your psychically discerned that based on what's in front of me, I'm going to be talking about the cameras I use. So today's about cameras. Also another first, it's going to be the first video ever that I've done sitting down in a chair. For my day job, where I teach at the university, I do stand-up lectures, which I record, where I'm pointing at things behind me on a screen. Generally it's a green screen, but like a weatherman. And in fact, there have been a couple of videos like that on this channel if you go back a ways, like the Carmageddon videos. I believe I'm standing in front of a green screen pointing at things. So there's a few of those on the channel, but I've never sat down. I've sat in the car, but not quite the same thing. And mainly I stand, though, even in those videos, or lay on the ground, which, as you know from watching the videos, I hate. So anyway, video of firsts. We're going to talk about cameras. But before I get started, let me just tell you something that can save you a lot of time. You may not have to watch the rest of the video if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel and you're thinking, what kind of camera should I get? You already own a really good camera if you have a smartphone of any recent vintage, and by recent I usually 5-8 years. Go look at your smartphone. I'm willing to bet it records video. I'm willing to bet it records video in 4K, and it probably records video in 4K 60 frames a second. And that is like the most you possibly would ever need for YouTube. In fact, most videos on YouTube are like 1080. This video is going to be in 1080. Because the bandwidth is huge for 4K. Well, it's more than 4 times the size. So 4K is all you'll ever need for the immediate future. So you already have that in your smartphone. Now, if you want to talk about these cameras, stick around and I'll explain. Okay, so when I started my channel, well, actually, here's the other thing. See, I didn't start a YouTube channel when I started making videos. I started making videos because of the lockdown, because of COVID, where I couldn't go to class and teach my class anymore. I had to record my lectures on video. So my original setup was like for a studio, for my office. So that's why I went with this baby. This is a Canon 90D. I did a lot of research. And by the way, you can go on YouTube and find videos about every kind of camera. 2 things you need to know. For these kind of cameras, these kind of video cameras, there's 2 kinds. There's single lens reflex, which are basically photography cameras from like 40 years. I used an SLR when I was in high school, and that was 50 years ago. So they've been around for over 50 years. And newer is the mirrorless. By the way, SLR has a little mirror that lets you look through the viewfinder. And the mirrorless, it's an electronic viewfinder. So that's the difference. One of the other differences, and I'll never understand this, apparently because of tax laws or something, if you can record more than 30 minutes of video, you're a video camera. But if you record 30 minutes or less of video, you can be a photography camera. And there's big tax differences, especially I think in Europe, where like a video camera will cost hundreds of dollars more than so they just limit the things to 30 minutes so that they can be called photography cameras. Well, this is a photography camera, so it will only record in 30-minute increments, which is why I talk fast and try to make sure. I don't know if you noticed, most of my videos tend to be less than 30 minutes. But anyway, I bought this and to set on a tripod in my office aimed at the green screen, and it has worked great. Now, this is an SLR. Single lens reflex cameras come without lenses. So I got this one with what we call a kit lens, which then you buy the camera body and the lens together in a kit. And this kit lens is an 18 to 55 millimeter 0.25. I don't know. It's got all this stuff written on it. I'm not a real pro on cameras, but basically you can zoom from 18 millimeters to 55 millimeters, which meant by having this on a tripod, like I can zoom in and record videos where it's mainly just my face, or zoom up farther where it's my torso, or even, and in my office is not very big, and I'm only standing about maybe 6 feet away from the camera. If you zoom all the way out, you can see almost my entire body. So it's very flexible with this little zoom kit lens, and it works just fine, and I'm very happy with it. Now, the reason, by the way, this little thing you see dangling out, this is for the microphone, which mounts up here. I'm using the microphone over in that camera today, which we'll talk about that camera in a minute. The other reason I got this was after watching all the reviews, because thinking, if I'm going to use it on YouTube, if I'm ever going to do any vlogging, this camera has a flip out screen. So if you got it aimed at yourself, you can see what the camera is seeing on this flipped out screen. If you're behind the camera, you can see, and it's a touch screen. Oh, and the other reason I picked this camera is because the autofocus is incredible. It's a multi-point autofocus, and again, on the little screen, you just tap, and it recognizes, it zooms in on eyes and faces. So if it can find a face and then find the eye within the face, that's what it focuses on, and it's really good at it. So I'm very, very pleased with this camera and this flip-out screen. Now it's very complicated, it's an S. Look at all these things. But when you're starting out, you can just put it on, I think what I have it on, which is TV, which basically locks the shutter speed to 60 frames a second, or when you use an SLR, you're supposed to set the shutter speed to double the frames per second. So I use 30 frames per second, so 60, my shutter speed is 1/60th of a second. If you're 24 frames per second, you use 1/50th of a second, and so on and so forth. So we set that up like that, and then that locks it to that, and then the camera will do all the other adjustments. Now, once you get better, you eventually go to manual, where you set the ISO and all this, and there's like tons of videos on YouTube to tell you how to set the thing. And by the way, camera specific. If you get a 90D, there are 90D videos that tell you how to set up what your settings should be. Again, it's a very complex camera. It'll do thousands of things. If you're just shooting video, it's probably overkill. And it's expensive. It's over $1,000 without the lens. And then the lenses cost hundreds of dollars. So I think this kit was probably $1,300, $1,400. I'd have to go look. But anyway, I love the little flip out, so that, like, if you're, again, when you're standing in front of it, you can see if you're in the frame, you can see, So and of course it flips around. It's a great little camera. Expensive. Now, what a lot of people start with when they start YouTube are GoPros. And I got a GoPro shortly after. I got this camera first, and then shortly thereafter, I got the GoPro. This is a GoPro Hero 8, which when I started a year ago was the fanciest, that was the latest deal from GoPro. Now, this one is sitting in what is called the media mount, which the GoPro, the GoPro actually will just pop right out. This is the GoPro itself. A little tiny thing. But slides into this media mount, which gives it a better microphone right here. It gives it what we call cold plates, which were these little things where you can slide on accessories. I have an accessory on here, which is the flip screen. Because again, the GoPro, when you're looking in front, when you're vlogging with it, there is a little screen there, but it's not what's the camera seeing. It's like information. But this will show you what the camera's looking at, and see when you flip it up, Now you can see what the camera sees, so it's like having this little flip-up thing. Now this costs like another $100, and this is like another $100. So I mean, these things get pricey. I mean, the camera's like $400, and then another $500, $600. So this has like $600 worth of stuff on it. And let me just tell you, let me cut to the chase. I don't like it. I have never had good luck with it. I often will, when I finish shooting a video, I will find that this thing crapped out. It went like 10 minutes and then turned off. Or it was doing something wrong. Or because the power switch is also the mode switch, when you're turning it off and on, you can sometimes change the mode. So instead of being in video mode, it'll be in photo mode, or it'll be in slow motion mode, or it'll be in some other mode where, again, the footage becomes unusable. So I would say probably over half of the time the footage I shoot with this, I end up not being able to use. So not a big fan. I do use it like as a backup. You will often see it, like when I was working on the dashboard, you'll see it like up on the mirror. You'd see this sitting on the dashboard pointing up. Not a fan. So then they came out last September with the GoPro Hero 9, which had all these amazing new features. So I said, well, I'll get the Hero 9. Surely that'll be better. Well, it is better. Except, by the way, notice that the this is also in the media case, which has a better microphone with a bigger windscreen, so it records better audio. And again, it has the little thing. I also have I forget what it's called. It's this lens you put on, and what it does, it's a stabilizing lens, so that no matter what the camera does, including, and this is my favorite, all the way around, the horizon stays stable. It does not, when I turn the camera all the way around, you watching the video, you would never know that the camera turned. So that's for like skateboarders and those stuff where the camera's swinging wildly around. This lens makes that all go away. I don't know how, it's like magic, but it works. And I also got the little flip-up lens. So again, this is, again, $600-700 worth. By the way, GoPro has this thing where if you sign up for the I don't know what they call it. It's like the club or extended warranty. But for so much a year, they give you a big discount on all these accessories. So they're much cheaper. And so that's why I buy all the accessories for this. But again, similarly with the Hero 8, footage often unusable because it was in the wrong mode. Or this one tends to crap out a lot more frequently and just stop recording for no reason. I think it has to do with heat. It overheats. And maybe being in this little case doesn't help. I don't know. But I find a lot of times that I will not have footage on this. So not a fan of this camera. Okay. Here's the camera I'm a big fan of. This is the DJI Osmo Action. Now, you may have heard of DJI. They make the drones. And they have really good little cameras in them. But this is basically DJI's answer to the GoPro. It's called the Action, which is, GoPros are action cameras. Now, one of the big things, one of the reasons I got this in the first place, is it has a screen on the front that is a real screen that you can flip to show you what it's saying. So again, for vlogging, you can see what's in front of you, like I'm seeing it right there, because by the way, the camera that's recording this is one of these. I like this so much, I bought a second one. So 90% of the time, when you're watching my channel, the mainline video, where, from a distance from the tripod, is off of this camera. Close-ups are on this camera. By the way, it says Ulanzi on the front because this is a metal cage, which gives it the hot shoes, which are very handy, and also give it a screw mount so you can mount it on tripods and other kinds of mounts. I'm not going to do mounts today, but I have like a dozen different kind of mounts, suction cup mounts, and for mounting these cameras in all sorts of weird places inside a car or outside a car. I'll do a whole video about those later on. But this is the, so that's why it says Ulanzi. It's because this is that cage, which I highly recommend. But A, it's steel, so now if you drop the camera, the camera will not break because it's in a steel cage, unless the lens hits, but you know. So anyway, I love this camera. These cameras have never failed me. You turn them on and they record until the card is full or they run out of battery. I have never had one just turn off for no reason. I have never lost the footage on one of these. They film, and by the way, they film in like, you know, when the videos aren't so, you know, so like after so many 30 minutes or whatever, however, it's probably by bytes, not by minutes. It just starts another video. So you just, and in your editing thing, you just put them back to back and it's like seamless. So it's lots of little videos that you string back together in your editing software. I love these cameras. And again, I like the front facing screen where I can see what the camera sees. So I know if like, if I'm cutting off my head or if, you know, if I got it. And again, it's just magnificent. In fact, I have my largest capacity SD cards in these two cameras. These are my 256 gigabyte cards I have in these cameras because again, they will record until the card is full or until they run out of battery. And I've never run one out of battery. I assume it takes hours. And it clearly will take, I've never filled up the card either. Well, not in lens. I mean, if you don't ever delete anything, you will. So, these are this is my main tripod camera. By the way, the other one of these that I'm talking to right now that you're looking at me in is on a tripod because it has, again, the mount. So I have it on a tripod sitting across the table from me. These are usually, though, hanging up, or if you see them in the videos where they're like hanging from the top of the hood, or they're over here, or, you know, I mean, I have a suction cup mount. Fantastic little cameras. Oh, by the way, cheaper than the GoPro as well. And I think because it's kind of older school, when I bought my second one, it was like $150 cheaper than my first one because, again, it wasn't cutting-edge technology anymore. But even the original price was less than the GoPro. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, I wanted more angles. Those of you who watch the channel frequently know that I like when I'm working on the engine especially, I like to have a lot, because I want you to see what's happening. And in a lot of videos on YouTube, especially the ones where it's like a guy holding his phone, he's in the way and you can't see what he's actually doing. So I try to have as many camera angles as possible so you can see where the screwdriver is going or where the thing is going. So since these two GoPros were basically useless for these purposes, unless whatever I was doing happened in the first 10-15 minutes of the video, I found I don't know, what do you call them? The closeout store, you know, where the, you know, liquidation store. And they had GoPro Hero 4s. The Hero 4 was the first GoPro to do 4K. Now again, I don't shoot in 4K, I shoot in 1080p, so I don't even, but I bought it for, you know, future proof. It shoots in 4K. So, and they were like $40. So I got two of these. And I have them also on mounts that can go on tripods, or all, again, my little suction cup mounts and all my weird little mounts. So a lot of times, when you see more than 3 angles, this will typically be the main angle from far away. These two, this one and the one you're looking at on, will be, and then I have 2 of these. So those will be all the angles typically you'll be seeing. Now again, these, you can find these really cheap. Hero 4, Hero 5, anything. Again, I only know that I don't like the 8 and 9. Everyone I talk to who has GoPros loves them all, so, but I love my 4s. They're fantastic. Oh, and they're also, I have them all set up where it's just one button. I hit that button and it records, and I hit that button and it stops and turns off. So, no accidentally going into slow motion. Okay. The Insta360. You have never seen footage from this camera on my channel because I have never gotten it to work the way it's supposed to work. I'm not giving up on it. It's a great little camera once I figure out. Because for one thing, this case it's in is also a battery. So like if you leave it in the little case, well, anyway, and it has mounts and things. But then the camera itself is magnetic and comes out, and you can like wear a thing where you can magnetize it and stick it here, or you can, so. But again, I'm not a skateboarder. That's what this is really for. But I just thought it was adorable, and I thought I might be able to use it again. Still have not tried. I mean, I've tried to use it. I've never gotten usable footage out of it. Usually because it's at the wrong angle or, But I have it. Someday you'll see it in a video. Get some footage from it in a video. Insta360. Now, these. Polaroid made these little cube cameras years ago, and at least last year they were still selling. You could still get them on Amazon for like $30, and at B&H Photo and a bunch of other places, you could get these for like $30-40, and they record in 1080p. That's as high as they go, 30 frames a second. There's a little switch in here, by the way, 720, 1080. So you can go 720p or 1080p. There's a little HDMI out, so you can get the footage off, or you can just pop the card out, the SD card. But you just press the button on the top and it starts recording, and you press the button on the top and it stops. And see that metal thing on the bottom? It's a magnet. So like you can stick it to the roof of your car, or you can just stick it anywhere. So I keep a couple of these lying around, like there's one in the car, so that, because my buddy O.C. Motivator, he got pulled over by the police, and he turned on one of these and stuck it on the roof, pointing back at the cop, so you could see what the cop was up to behind him without him being obvious. So, and again, they're like $30-40 if you can find them, because they haven't made them in years. But Polaroid cubes, fantastic little camera. Yes, I think you have seen. Do you remember? Well, you probably don't remember. But I did a video where I drove over the camera. Well, this is the camera I drove over. I set this on the driveway and drove across it. Because, unless you hit it with the wheel, you're not going to hurt it. I think I had two. I think I had one point this way, one point that way, and then one point that way, and I drove over. Anyway, that's my other camera. So, those are my cameras. Do I need that many cameras? No. The only one I really have to... As a matter of fact, if you made me only have one camera, it would be the one that you're looking at me on, which is this one, the DJI Osmo Action. This is like the utility player. It can do almost anything. It has horizon stabilization. It has all sorts of the stuff that the GoPros have. Again, it's a GoPro knockoff. And it's a really good knockoff. DJI makes really good little cameras. So, if I only could have one, it would be this one. Well, actually, it'd probably be that one. Well, they're the same. Although for school, it would be this one. For recording my lectures and everything. Although I could do it on that one. But this one has, I have a lot more audio options. And again, I'll do an audio behind the scenes later on, where I'll talk about the microphones I use. But I have a really fantastic little microphone system that I slide into this little cold shoe, plug that in, and then the audio gets recorded to the video in this camera. And then that's all I need. So I have one camera that has the audio and video and everything. Now this one also will have audio and video, but this one will do stereo. You could live with just that. You could live with just this, although vlogging would be hard. This is heavy. Although, by the way, one of the things about SLRs is they are great. They have great grips. They're easy to hold and swing around because, again, for photographers, they were made for photographers. And also to support really long lenses. So you need to be, but they have really great grip. And, shoulder straps and everything. So again, primary camera, secondary camera. Well, and another secondary, I like that one so much I have two. I'd then probably keep these two for backups. And I could live with that. The GoPros were a huge waste of money as far as I'm concerned. Now, I hope springs eternal. I will buy a GoPro Hero 10 when it comes out this fall. Because, I mean, it can't be worse. These have been terrible for me, but I figure everyone swears by them, so it's got to be a good camera. So I'll be getting a GoPro Hero 10. So, those are my cameras. All of this information and details about these cameras will be in the description below. I'll have links. Again, Amazon sells almost everything. Autorama, which is primarily a camera photography video kind of store, which by the way also uses Amazon. So a lot of times when I've ordered stuff from Autorama, it was actually from Amazon, but supply, what do they call that? What do they call that? Well, anyway, Autorama actually was the seller. I mean, the seller was Autorama. And B&H Photo, I bought a lot of my equipment from B&H Photo. Oh, well, I'll talk about tripods and stuff because I don't think microphones and audio is enough for a full video. So I'll do accessories. And I'll also probably do a lighting video. By the way, I have a LCD light right over here that's doing a fill light. I have outdoor light coming through the dining room window here. So that's why, by the way, but it's cloudy, which is why this light seems brighter from this side than from this side. Earlier in the day, it was brighter from this side than this side. Anyway, where was I? I was saying goodbye is what I was doing. Those are my cameras. The information will be down below. Have a great week. I will see you next week. By the way, school's still getting rolling, so it may be another behind the scenes, fast, easy to put together video, or I may be back in the cars. We'll see. See you next time.